The Edinburgh Tattoo offered us a wonderful opportunity to schedule a clan gathering. The idea for this year that individual clans would march onto the castle esplanade to open the evening's performance, I thought was just too good an opportunity to turn up. And we were invited, and I put my hand up saying, yes, please, before I knew whether any of the clan wanted to support me or not. To have 60 odd of us from 11 different countries on the castle esplanade, I thought was great. We were collected together at the Great Hall at the top of Edinburgh Castle, all put into a room. We were brought to order with a rolling set of drums by the Royal Marines. I was amused by the Sergeant Major who stomped around and sort of scowled at us, and he divided us into two groups, the Lochbuies on one side, the Kincaids on the other side, and out we marched from the Great Hall with our banners up, down through the castle, led by our own piper, until we got to the entrance to the esplanade, which they call the drawbridge. And at the given moment, we then all marched onto the castle esplanade, as it's called. Lined up left and right of the red carpet to receive the salute taker, who turned out to be a Norwegian admiral. But the best part of that was we got to have a free dram. After that, we were sent off to our seats, and the tattoo started. The piper who led us down through the castle and onto the esplanade, it was Pipe Major Thomas Fuller. Thomas Fuller, interestingly, is a descendant of the Livingstons of Croggan at Lochbuie. And Thomas's, goodness knows how many great-great-grandfathers, his great-great-grandfather was the piper and bard to my great-grandfather times 8, and his name was Lachlan, and Lachlan was John's piper. And here we are, round figures 250, 300 years later, with the family back involved piping for me. The second part of our gathering was attending the Oban Games. Oban as a town actually has a lot of Maclaine history. There are many dubious investments that the grandfathers made, and there's one which I think was a wonderful investment, but for whatever reason induced him to do the wrong thing. Donald, my two great-grandfathers, was a shareholder, a significant shareholder in the Oban distillery. Why he chose to sell his equity in that business, I don't know. Then he was also the chap who disapproved greatly of a railway link from Glasgow to Oban. And he said that would be the death of the village. And he sold significant land holdings in Oban because of a railway line coming in. So, yeah, we got that one wrong. The Oban Games, interestingly, also called the Argyllshire Gathering, was founded by my great-grandfather, Murdoch, with the then Marquis of Lorne, who subsequently became the Duke of Argyll. Reason for forming them or founding them, Marquis of Lorne was about to marry the Princess Louise, one of Queen Victoria's daughters. And how do we celebrate her arrival at Inverary Castle? Well, let's have a ball and a Highland gathering. And so these two old scoundrels, I prefer to call them, because they were wonderful, wonderfully colourful people. They concocted the idea in London over heaven knows what sort of quantity of sustenance, and the Games came into being in 1870. And so it's heading up for its 150th anniversary. As far as we're concerned, we attended this year's gathering. We have sponsored a piping competition. I am delighted that my children are making a point of going every year because having been absent from Argyll for far too long, for the last, whatever it is, since 1922 effectively, it's time we reappeared in force. The relevance of Mull today is maybe distant to many of us. The world has changed dramatically over the last 100-odd years. And when we talk about what our forefathers experienced in Mull, they experienced a completely different life to what we have today. We have, in many respects, some good things, but we also have many things that aren't quite as good as they should have been. What I see a visit by the clan to Mull as achieving, it's a renewing of what our grandfathers would have experienced. What did they endure? What did they celebrate? What were the good things? What were the bad things about their life? They wandered around these shores, these islands, these hills, and I think they had a pretty damn good time, but they equally had some very sorrowful times. And I hope that when people do walk around Lochbuie, they will think about their forefathers and what they experienced. I believe there should be more clan gatherings than there actually are, because a clan is essentially a family. And we're now scattered. It does bring us together and renews those old fellowships. And from a personal perspective, I'd like it to be extended even further and wider. There's a small nucleus of very active clansmen. That nucleus has to grow. We hear of extravagant numbers of over 2,000 Maclaines, all traceable kin. I haven't met half of them. I wish I had, and I wish everybody else had as well. Why should we celebrate our history? Why should we nurture and foster it? I look around and I see a lot of lost souls who have children. The children get married, they move away, and the next thing you hear sort of stories, oh, I haven't seen my parents for goodness knows how many years. Well, who was your grandmother? Oh, I don't know. And I think that's rather sad. What is a family? A family is a unit. It's a component, it's made up of lots of components of grandchildren, children, husbands and wives, grandparents and great-parents. And I think families are richer for knowing their heritage. They might not like it. They might say, really, I don't want to be a Campbell, and that might be understandable. But they'd be quite happy being a MacDonald or a Maclaine. But it's part of a belonging to something. And I think I'd be a lot poorer if it was just me and my one son and one daughter and one parent and one wife. I think that I would be a lot poorer. I actually enjoy having family members, be they near or distant, third, fourth or 10th cousins. I think I'm a lot better off for it.